I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network, where tonight it will be the stars and cars of the iRacing Silver Crown Cup taking on North Wilkesboro Speedway. Oh, this is going to be a fun show. My name is Chris Graham, joining the booth as always by Mr. Patrick Byrne. And I'll tell you what here, Bizzle, I think we're going to get a pretty darn good show out of this place, even if it's not exactly what you would think of for these types of Silver Crown cars. We usually think big speedways, a lot of, really, really fast tracks. This is bull ring, but it's going to be a fun one, I think.
Well, yeah, and this is a very fast track, at least for half of it. This track was built on the side of a hill, so I believe going down the front stretch, you're climbing that hill, and going down the back stretch, you are dropping back off that hill and picking up a ton of speed.
Yes, well, you're backwards, but yes, you're downhill down the front stretch, uphill, up the back straightaway. It is an adventure running around here, that is for sure. But
I believe I get it confused every time we come here.
It sounds about right. As qualifications are out on the speedway, and already Derek Love setting a very quick lap, 16.630 seconds. We're following along with James Watson. Watson's going to go, let's see, going to just barely be taking the green flag. Oh, buddy, big old tank slapper out of turn number 2. Let's pick up Jeffrey Stanton making his way off of turn number 4 on lap 2. D-Love, 16.630. Jeffrey Stanton will go no quicker on lap number 2. 16.761 seconds. Thomas Lewandowski jumping up to the 5th position. We'll pick up now the number 2 of Tracy Petter. A name that we haven't heard from in a little bit here, buddy. River Hayes up to second quick on the board at a 16.655, 3/100ths of a second off of Derek Love's quick time. Lap number 2 coming up on the board for Tracy Petter, and it will be good enough for 4th quick. 16.775. James Watson slots himself in to position number 3. Ben Carswell on the racetrack. Go ahead.
I wonder what River Hayes has been up to. We haven't heard that name in a very, very long time.
Yeah, it's been a little while, that is for sure. Ben Carswell, first lap's going to be a 16.901. Lap number 2 will be, good enough for 6th quick. Good lap for Carswell, 16.841. The number 1 of Mitch Drevnovsky on the speedway right now. Lap 1, not very good, quite frankly. 17.053 seconds. Got to get the tires warmed up there. See what he can do here on lap number 2. And it will be good enough for 3rd quick overall for Mitch Drevnovsky. Qualifications already done. These guys are getting a move on here in a very big way here tonight. As we get ready to see everybody pop out on to the starting grid here, we'll pick up River Hayes and we'll get ready to show you tonight's starting lineup. On the pole in the Street Side Classics, number 3 will be Derek Love with a lap time of 16.630 seconds. 26 thousandths of a second back, the number 81 of River Hayes, McConey Setup Shop on the tail tank of that machine. Road number 2 will have the Drevnovsky Construction Budweiser entry of Mitch Drevnovsky, carrying the number 1 here this evening. Lining up on the outside of row number 2 will be the Team Watson Racing Setups National Racing Network Martin Sports, number 39 of James Watson. Keep your eye out for the 7 in timing and scoring on that one. The number 8 of Jeffrey Stanton, the Big Evil Designs, Nap Auto Parts, Rockwell, North Carolina. Number 94 will occupy the inside of row 3. He will be the 8 in timing and scoring. The RaceEPI.com, number 2 of Tracy Petter, will be on the outside of row number 3. Row 4 will have the Team Watson Racing Setups, number 48 of Ben Carswell. That car will be the 16 in timing and scoring, lining up alongside of the number 6 of Brandon Buckberger. Row number 5, Brian Elmore in the number 9, alongside of the Team Watson Racing Setups Martin Sports, number 4 of Thomas Lewandowski. A little bit surprised to see Lewandowski a quarter of a second off the pace. Lining up on row number 6, the Spotify, number 13 of Joe Gauthier, alongside the 10 of Andrew Hayes. Row number 7, the Kibu, number 12 of Laura Gerhart, lining up alongside of the Me Fine Team Watson Racing Setups, number 11 of Zach Evans. Row number 8, Brett Elmore in the 15, alongside of the Team Watson Racing Setups National Racing Network ZAS Designs, number 44 of Zach Scott Nicky. That car will be the 14 in timing and scoring. And even 420 back off the pole.
Couldn't have planned that if he tried.
Yeah, no, he couldn't. Off of turn number 4, 100 laps the distance. Green flag in the air. We are underway, and they're side by side into turn 1. D-Love going to be able to pull away ever so slightly from River Hayes. Now Drevnovsky looking to the inside. And I'll tell you what, Bizzle, this is one of those places that, depending on the car, this is not a 2-lane racetrack. Like I said, it really depends on the car a good bit, but you're not going to make up a lot of ground if you get hung up on the outside.
No, this is really a bottom line track, an old school kind of Dale Earnhardt style track where you're going to push someone out of the way. You got to make contact with their rear bumper. In these cars, it's the fuel tank, and just rattle their cage a little bit.
D-Love sets a new fastest lap of the race as James Watson getting freight trained a little bit here on the outside. Jeffrey Stanton able to come past. Now Tracy Petter trying to look past. Watson tries to get down to the inside. He's not there. Slides it up. Oh, big contact. Watson goes around, and we've got a yard sale off of turn 2. And unbelievably, no caution flag.
Oh, man, that's going to be incredibly frustrating for James Watson.
Yeah, I don't know how we didn't get a caution. We've got half the field pulling onto pit lane, which is not an easy pit lane to get on or off of. We're going to take a look at this one from the overhead. I don't think there was contact. My at least initial look at it said this was net code. Yeah, there was not contact there. Watson goes around, everybody piling in, and somehow we stay under green. See if we can't get a quick word in here with James Watson. And James, unfortunately, looked like the netcode gods kind of jumped out a little bit and got you and Brandon, so I can't say wadded up together, but looked like all hell broke loose there right about the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, I was hoping he'd cut me some slack, and he didn't, and netcode, of course, had to jump in, and my day is done. The car felt great. If I could have gotten to the bottom, I would have been okay. And, you know, all I needed was a little bit of slack, especially, you know, I've always been one to let him in or let him by when him and I are racing. But, of course, never get the same treatment from guys like that. So, yeah, is what it is, I guess.
Buddy, tough break tonight. Hopefully we're talking to you under a little bit better circumstances here next week.
I doubt it.
A very frustrated James Watson.
An incredibly frustrated James Watson.
Yeah, that might be putting it mildly. Sliding back a little bit here, picking up River Hayes and Jeffrey Stanton. And quite frankly, the lack of a yellow absolutely changes the complexion of this race pretty wildly, because now we have a 2-second gap from first to fifth. It's another second back to Buckberger and Lewandowski in 6th and 7th. And we've got cars already going a lap down. We've got cars that out of the race, James Watson, Brian Elmore, that we would not have expected to be out of the race this early. This really kind of shakes things up, and unless we get on caution at some point.
Yeah, this being this much of a bull ring and short track, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a caution at some point during this race. It's almost impossible that we don't.
Let's take a look at Brandon Buckberger's machine, see if we can't see any damage on the back end of that car from where the contact was made with James Watson. The 6 still looks pretty good. The one car that we do have some damage on is going to be Mitch Drevnovsky. He climbed the outside concrete retaining wall right where that gap is. He got it hooked up, and you can see the right front of that car, I will say crinkled. It's a crinkle fry, whatever you want to call it. The front end bent up just a little bit on that machine, but really probably not going to make that much of a difference here. River Hayes, Jeffrey Stanton continuing their battle as they come around the machine of Zach Skotnicki. Skotnicki involved in that incident off of turn number 2. But amazingly, with all the damage to the cars here, that car staying up inside of the top 10. Skotnicki running in the 10th position right now. You can see heavy damage on the right front of Zach Skotnicki's machine. Just back behind Skotnicki, Brandon Buckberger and Thomas Lewandowski, separated by a couple of car lengths here. Yeah, sign on checking in the comments here. Let's get some of these up. There's the Jeffrey Stanton appreciation post. And the 6 just took him out. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that we can call that a takeout. What is your thought on that, Bizzle? When you have an incident that is obviously netcode, does it still count as getting taken out by somebody?
It depends on if it was malicious or not. I mean, if you were obviously blinking around, netcoding, and running really close to another driver, yeah, that's malicious. But if it was just a hiccup, it's a part of racing online on the internet. It happens.
Yeah, that one kind of had racing deal written all over it here. Let's take a look, because the battle is heating up at the front. Still nose to tail between D-Love and Mitch Drevnovsky, as we are now past the 1/4 pole in this race. Lap number 26 going up on the board. Still 75 to go. Man alive, Drevnovsky so close to that outside wall. That's really kind of how you have to drive this car around here, though. You have to carry the speed and the momentum, and you don't want to have to give it up accelerating up the hill out the backstretch.
Yeah, you have to keep up the momentum. Even if it means letting someone sneak a peek at the inside on the exit of the corner, they're not going to be able to make the move, and you're going to clear them once you get back down to turn number 1. So it's very, very tough. I've never had any luck at this track.
I have a very much love-hate relationship with this place. It's a ton of fun to drive. I enjoy hot lapping it. I enjoy racing other cars on it. The problem is, if you're a lapped car, it is incredibly difficult to get out of the way and not put yourself or the car lapping you in a position to get wrecked. How about River Hayes, Jeffrey Stanton going high, wide, and handsome through 1 and 2? That's a different line than we've seen in the past, and they are definitely making up some ground here. Stanton going the high line through 3 and 4 as well. 3 and 4 is a little bit more forgiving because it is still uphill. You kind of turn down the hill right about the middle of 3 and 4. So on entry, you can carry some extra speed and run high and use that to your advantage. It's really tough to do down in turn 1, though, because the world's still falling away from you.
Yeah, the car doesn't want to slow down going into 1. It doesn't want to hug the banking. It doesn't want to turn. And you're carrying so much more speed, so it's very easy to slide up and let someone get underneath you in the mid-corner.
Now kind of is the time when you want to be making that, I guess, learning the car, learning where your line works, given the weather conditions and the unique circumstances of the server itself. Because if you're River Hayes and Jeffrey Stanton, you're now doing some learning that the guys ahead of you really aren't able to do.
Yeah, you're kind of just sitting there watching what they're doing, seeing what lines are working for them, seeing where they're losing time. And not only that, you're playing chess with them a little bit. You're watching where they're making their mistakes. Do you see them stepping out, getting a little bit loose coming off turn 2? Well, that's where you're going to have to strike and make your move.
We mentioned the weather conditions here. Let's show you what the conditions look like here this evening. 78-degree ambient temperature, 99-degree track temp, under cloudy skies. A little bit of humidity, a little bit of wind, but quite frankly, just a perfect afternoon for racing here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Let's go a little bit further back in the pack here because Tracy Petter now has both Thomas Lewandowski and Brandon Buckberger right there. This is going to be 5, 6, and 7. Lewandowski able to clear Petter. Petter with a lot of damage on that race car. Buckberger now sneaking by to the inside. Tracy Petter getting a big piece of the action in that lap 2 incident. The whole front end of that car is used up. You get when it's that damaged, you can tell just the handling is not going to be good on that race car. Oh, as there's contact, Scott Nicky slides to the inside.
Bring out a caution, I think.
No, it does not. There it is. Now the caution flag comes out. Yellow flag on the speedway. Let's take a look. We're going to watch this one from the overhead. Tight racing off of turn number 2. Petter gets up into the outside wall, and Scott Nicky just had absolutely nowhere to go. And that's what brought out the yellow, was backing out, that little bit of back out onto the racetrack. Well, we are almost to the halfway point here, Bizzle. And now these guys don't have, you can't make a tire change. You got what you got in that situation. But definitely one of those where this is a long heat cycle on the tires. I would imagine you're kind of hoping now, if you're the leaders, that you want this to go green the rest of the way.
If you're the leaders, absolutely. You want this to stay green, try and run away from the field again, and definitely not another caution. We're at the point where lap traffic might not even be an issue. But if you're the rest of the field, you want heat cycle after heat cycle after heat cycle. You want more and more cautions in this race because, frankly, the guys up front are running away from you. So the more cautions you have, the more chances not only for them to make a mistake, but for you to get pass made on them.
Tracy Petter on pit lane, going to come out just ahead of the iRacing safety car. So Tracy will stay on the lead lap. And we should, again, the operative word is should, get the 1-to-go signal next time by, which will be with It'll be 55 laps to go when we come back to Green Flag Racing. Coming up after tonight's race at North Wilkesboro, we head off to the Milwaukee Mile, just announced today is returning to the NTT IndyCar Series schedule for 2024. That is going to be fantastic. Doubleheader Labor Day weekend. I am looking forward to that one. Following that up, we head off to Indianapolis Raceway Park, and then we don't get another super speedway until the middle of October in week number 6, when we head off to the Michigan International Speedway. Close out the month with an inaugural trip to Kern County Raceway Park, and then out into the Valley of the Sun and Phoenix Raceway. The Phoenix version.
The peak version. Well, the 2012 version was my personal favorite, but that one's gone forever.
Yes, that is actually I think one of the only track that iRacing has outright retired and just removed from the service.
Which is a shame. It's a piece of racing history. I mean, I know the new track, all they did was move the pit wall and change where the start-finish line was, but it changed the whole dynamic of the circuit. You can't cut the entirety of the dogleg anymore.
That is correct. The Tunics layout was absolutely fantastic. As we go back to Green Flag Racing, D-Love gets a good start down into turn 1. Keep your eye on River Hayes. He's making the outside lane work. Now he's going to cross him up, look down inside, has to tuck back in line. Hayes going to have to contend with Jeffrey Stanton, Thomas Lewandowski, and Brandon Buckberger. Meg Carswell doing a nice job of holding on to that lead group as well. 7 cars all within a couple seconds of each other. A little bit farther back, Laura Gerhardt down to the inside of Zach Evans, getting that pass completed through turn number 3. Next time by, it will be cross flags and halfway home here in tonight's 100 lapper at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Big week of racing action coming up here as well on NRN. Myrtle Beach tomorrow night for TNT Shock. That race is going to be wild. Followed by Sim Racers Club at Daytona, Indy Pros off at Sebring, and then Bizzle and I will be doing some real-world shooting for Dirt 2 Media this weekend with the season finale down at the Airport Speedway in Newcastle, Delaware.
What are we shooting down there?
600 micros, 270s, 125s, 4 strokes. It's a full night of micro sprint racing action.
Hell yeah, I haven't seen 270s in a long time. Those things, they might sound like lawnmowers, but they absolutely rip.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen a 2-stroke lawnmower. They sound like leaf blowers, but they rip.
Yeah, yes they do. They sound like overgrown leaf blowers, weed whackers, whatever you want to call them. But a lot of fun. You can find that one at dirt2media.tv. That's dirt, the number 2 media.tv. Actually, a lot of great content there. They've got a $12,000 to win 600 race out at US 24 Speedway, I believe it is, in Indiana this weekend. Oh, little contact. There's the bump and run. Trevnovsky forces D-Love up the racetrack. He'll have the inside look to turn number 1. And that was another net code incident there. I don't know that they actually made contact, but D-Love got the shove up the racetrack either way. Now River Hayes going to have the look outside of Drevnovsky. Could we be 3 wide for the lead at North Wilkesboro? I don't think it's wide enough to do that, even down the straightaways. Love holds that upper line. They settle things down just back behind them. Jeffrey Stanton, Thomas Lewandowski going to war as well here. I'll tell you what, Bizzle, with the way that we clicked off basically that first half of the race, it's kind of go time now for these guys at the front.
Yeah, there's no more time to sit back and just click laps off. You're now fighting for this race lead. Drevnosky wants it from Derek Love. River Hayes jumping in that fight, making it a three-car battle. Drevnosky's sliding down to the inside, almost getting into the inside wall. So, yeah, it's go time for these guys.
That was a tank slapper. It just didn't finish going around. I don't know how Drevnosky was able to save that, but Love. Oh, there's big contact. Huge wreck down the front straightaway.
Well, there he goes. That puts Lewandowski and Stanton in second and third.
Oh, my goodness. Mitch Drevnosky and River Hayes both tumbling upside down. And there's definitely something screwy going on with the iRacing caution algorithm here, because let's take a look. Off of turn number 2, Drevnosky slides up ever so slightly, and it is a wild tumble for River Hayes.
Just another tank slap there. Right as you got finished calling it a tank slap where he didn't finish, he finished that one.
Yeah. Let's go on board here with, with River. That is the absolute definition of a sky ground. Sky, ground, sky, ground, sky, ground. Quick work by the safety crew gets him back to his pit box, but that will be the end of the night for River Hayes. So now as we work under the caution flag here with lap number 64 going up on the scoreboard, let's take a look at any of these cars that were a little bit back behind that incident. See if any of them picked up damage. The 94 of Jeffrey Stanton looks good. Looks like the 4 of Thomas Lewandowski, that machine also looks pretty good. Not seeing anything damage-wise there on that one. The 6 of Brandon Buckberger looks pretty good. As does Ben Carswell, who's now up inside the top 5. Let's see if we can't get a word here with Ben as we circulate under the caution flag. And I tell you what, Ben, you're getting a little bit of help here from some of the leaders and shenanigans, but that car is running well inside the top 5.
Yeah, it feels like I'm going to luck my way into a top 5 here or something. I'm going to have Brett coming up behind me, but I mean, everybody from 8th on back is a lap down, so
yeah.
As long as I keep it on the track, it's pretty good. Yeah, quite possibly.
How does the car feel? I mean, obviously on outright pace, I don't know that it's there. But you're a 10th off, less than a 10th off over the 10-lap average from what the leaders have done.
I mean, that's fantastic for me. Yeah, these guys have got years of experience, nearly a decade at short tracks, and I do not. So it feels good. My goal is keep it on the track, keep it clean. If Brent is clearly faster than me, I'll just let him go. I let Lewandowski go at lap 3 because he was clearly faster. So keep it on track. That's the goal.
All right, buddy. Good luck the rest of the way here. Thank you very much for coming to hang out with us for a moment. And lights are off on the iRacing safety cars. We're getting ready to go back to green flag racing. And green flag goes back in the air. Good start for Derek Love. Jeffrey Stanton way up against the outside wall. Oh, big damage on the right front of Jeffrey Stanton's car as we go back to green through turns 1 and 2. He's going to give up second to Lewandowski, third to Buckberger. Able to slot in line just in front of Ben Carswell. Carswell a little bit worried about the 15 of Brent Elmore, but really nothing coming there. At least not yet anyway. Elmore held up a little bit. Now Carswell thinking about the look inside of Stanton through 1 and 2. Not able to make the move there. This looks like cars that have run a short track race. That is for sure.
Well, it's a good thing they bolt those Kardashians onto the front of this thing. So this gives you some cushion for the pushing, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so, because I'll tell you what, they're doing a fantastic job of trying to tear these race cars up. And at this point now, there's nobody that has been there on outright pace with Derek Love. But we also haven't seen a lot of Thomas Lewandowski not having to work his way through traffic. Remember, he started back in the 10th position, up 8 to run in second. The 5-lap average, it's thousandths. It's about a 17,000th of a second advantage for Thomas Lewandowski over Derek Love. You can make up 17 thousandths a lap, but that's not going to get you there when you're 4/10ths back.
Yeah, you're going to have to pick up more than that. Unless we get another caution, it's pretty much going to be the way they sit.
Seeing somebody bouncing off the concrete retaining wall there on the outside. Let's slide back a little bit. Pick up Tracy Petter and Zach Scott Nicky. Andrew Hayes just ahead of them. This is the battle 8th, 9th, and 10th. And that's the 15 of Brent Elmore that is right back behind these guys. Elmore going to have to deal with Laura Gerhardt, potentially. But as it sits right now, this is the best battle on the racetrack, and it is the battle for the lead with 25 to go. D. Love holding a 4/10 of a second advantage over Thomas Lewandowski. Brandon Buckberger sits third. Jeffrey Stanton fourth. Ben Carswell the top 5. Taking a look at the points entering tonight, it seems like this is a rinse and repeat thing. Brandon Buckberger is not happy when he's not in victory lane. But entering this race tonight, he is holding a 75-point lead over Derek Love in the point standings and a 101-point lead over Thomas Lewandowski, who sits third. We talked about the great season that Lewandowski had last season. That was more anomaly than anything else. Any of the top 5 cars in points would have won the Season 2 championship if they scored that same number in Season 3. I really think we are shaping up to see a fantastic championship battle. And potentially, even if Buckberger doesn't put it in victory lane, we could see a winless champion.
I don't know if I think I've ever seen that. We almost saw it in the real world in 2014 when they first introduced this playoffs format in NASCAR. And Newman almost won the championship without getting a single win. But other than that, I don't think there's been any time in the real world or iRacing it's ever been close.
Austin Dillon did it once in the Xfinity Series. Won the championship without a win, which seems, it's kind of ironic, I guess, to say that you won something without winning. But again, it was that kind of season that Buckberger's putting up thus far this season. Keep the car in the top 3. The points battle will land in your favor.
Yeah, you just got to be consistent. You don't have to be the best there ever was, but you just got to be good enough to get it.
Looking at the rest of the top 5, Jeffrey Stanton currently sits 4th. Josh Bautista, who is lost somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle, I think, as we speak, currently sitting in the 5th position in points. 6 through 10, Tracy Petter, Jason Steinhurst, James Watson, Vic Aldrich, and Joe Gauthier. Man, the later we get in this race, the better that number 4, Thomas Lewandowski, looks. Over the 5, 10, and 15 lap averages, that car is about a 10th faster all the way around. Taking a look, the only other battles we have right now is Tracy Petter, who's about 0.8 of a second back from Andrew Hayes for the 8th position. Everybody else in the field right now is separated by seconds. Ben Carswell just crossing 2 seconds back behind Jeffrey Stanton for the 4th position. Stanton doing a nice job keeping that car on the straight and narrow now. But man alive, is he running. I guess, and depending on how you set the car up, that could be the only lane he has to run.
Yeah, sometimes if the car is pushing really, really tight, you can help it a little bit by running way up high against that wall, make the turn a little bit wider, and makes it easier to make the corner. But especially when everyone else is faster on that bottom side, I just don't see that being effective to get the race win.
Well, yeah, you're making the racetrack too long compared to what everybody else is doing, and now
you're damage control at that point.
Correct, and Stanton doing a nice job of it, keeping the car inside the top 5. As we are now down to 9 laps remaining in this 100-lapper, coming to you from the 1986 version of North Wilkesboro Speedway. I would assume we will have a rescan in time for the NASCAR All-Star Race, which is likely to come back to North Wilkesboro in 2024. At least that's everything that I'm hearing out of our NASCAR guys, that kind of looks like that maybe. It's not quite a done deal yet, but as close as you're going to get. So we'll get all the updated buildings and new artwork around here. But what's interesting is they don't have to touch the track surface, because nothing has been done to this place since this scan was done.
Yeah, they were going to tear up the pavement and repave it after the All-Star race and run this as a dirt track in the meantime. And then the NASCAR guys came through and said, no, we like this bumpy old pavement that's going to tear up the tires and be absolutely terrible. It has character. And they've kept it the way it was, with all the patches and all the other junk that's in that racing surface. I give it 1 more, maybe 2 more years on this racing surface before they have to repave it.
Yeah, that I think they'll make the call, and if it's going to get a full points-paying race, you'll see the asphalt get redone. I don't know that SMI pays to repave North Wilkesboro just to host the All-Star race once a year. But now down to 4 laps to go, and Derek Love increasing the lead out to 0.7 of a second over Thomas Lewandowski. Brandon Buckberger holding on for 3rd. Everybody else is multiple seconds apart. So we're going to stay right here with your race leaders. Popsicle sticks at the line. The gap continuing to sit at 0.6 of a second for Derek Love. This, quite frankly, is a race that he needed. We have not seen him in victory lane. Well, I guess we saw him back. I guess it was week 1, wasn't it? I don't remember. Anyway. Don't get old, people. Through 3 and 4 for the final time. Checkered flag will be in the air this time, and Derek Love picks up the win at North Wilkesboro. Thomas Lewandowski going to come home 2nd. Brandon Buckberger will claim the final place on the podium. Jeffrey Stanton and Ben Carswell complete the top 5. 6 through 10 here tonight. Brent Elmore, Laura Gerhardt, Andrew Hayes, Tracy Petter, and Zach Skotnicki. Let's see here. While we wait for D-Love to come around and burn the house down here, we'll get you your full race rundown. Andrew Hayes back in the 8th position, was the first car to finish 1 lap down. Laura Gerhardt finishing only a couple of seconds ahead of the race leaders. Second page of the leaderboard, going to have Joe Gauthier in 11th, Mitch Drevnovsky in 12th, River Hayes 13th, Zach Evans in 14th, James Watson and Brian Elmore going out of this race early on. They will finish in 15th and 16th. So let's kick off our Victory Lane interviews here tonight with our third place finisher, Mr. Brandon Buckberger. And I'll tell you what, Brandon, this race was really interesting because it seemed like nobody at the front wanted to stay there. You had a really nice battle with Thomas a couple of times throughout the race and able to bring it home in the third position here. Congratulations, and talk us through your night a little bit.
Yeah, the car was good. Driver sucked. Want to apologize to James about getting in a move early there. Just overshot the corner. Bonehead move on my part. I know he's probably going to be. I know he's upset with me, but I don't know. I'm watching the replay now about it. Looks like I just got in the corner and drifted up. Oh, netcode got it too.
Yeah,
but I should have given more room.
I was just going to say the netcode gods did not play nicely with you in that incident. But it's interesting because he kind of said something similar that early in the race maybe should have been a little bit more give and take. But ultimately, though, with what we saw how you guys were running, you had to have the bottom. It's not like you can just give up track position like that either.
Yeah, everyone's so equal now. It's give and take's really not much of a thing anymore. You got to take it when you can get it, just because everyone's so competitive now. And I know you guys were talking about last week how I get mad about finishing second all the time and all that, podium finishes. I'm getting mad, but I'm actually kind of happy about this one tonight. But still getting beat by the best. But I gotta work on some stuff here still. But I'm happy with that third place though.
Well, that's a good thing to hear. You entered the night as the championship points leader, quite possibly going to leave here as the points leader as well. Congratulations on the podium tonight, and if there's any sponsor plugs or thank yous, we can get them in now for you.
Yeah, blank car, but yeah, points don't matter if the guys you're racing still beat you.
I feel you on that one, brother. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here for just a minute, and now let's bring up our second place finisher tonight, Mr. Thomas Lewandowski. And I'll tell you what, Thomas, with however many laps to go it was like the parting of the Red Sea in front of you guys. It just happened that the parting was flipping race cars.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. Just starting all the way with 10th or whatever it was. I had to see a lot of other cars in front of me. Had to navigate through some of them, flipping or otherwise.
Yeah.
But, hey, I'll take a second place.
I was going to ask you about that. The starting 8th obviously is not or starting 10th tonight was not where you wanted to be. But the car was really good because you were able to work your way through traffic. It wasn't like it was just all attrition ahead of you. How did the car feel from a balance perspective for you?
It was super fast. I mean, I was when I had clean track, early in the race when I was still back, and whatever, like 6th or whatever, like I was running as fast as the leaders would have popped up. The spotter gives the leader the leader's lap time, so I knew I was plenty quick. And the hardest part is just not losing so much time to the leaders if you don't get that caution. But we got a couple in tonight that let me catch back up.
Well, congratulations on it. It was a fantastic drive for you. And before we let you go, make sure you do all the big sponsor plugs and thank yous here.
Just, thanks to you guys, for broadcasting these, and you guys do a great job. And then just all my buddies over at the Drill Out, John, Marcus, Larry, Bob, but thanks again, guys.
All right, brother. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here. And now it's time to talk to our race winner tonight, Mr. Derek Love, picking up what iRacing says is your second win on the season. Congratulations. Your car looked like a rocket ship, but how did it feel for you behind the wheel?
Hey, it felt great. First thing I got to say is, man, a couple of weeks ago, I said we were back. Little did I know, I was calling the next race where I was at the back of the pack. So we're glad to be back up in the front this time. I was just talking with Brandon in the cool down room, and the setup I used had a W saved on it on the file name. So I've won in this setup here before, and we did a few little iterations to it. But man, yeah, it felt quick. I just really couldn't decide, and I'm sure you saw this in the race. I couldn't decide 1 and 2 to run the bottom or the middle. Felt like the bottom was safer, but that middle, you could carry a lot of speed through there, but it's a little easier to mess it up and lose a lot more that way.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because we even saw some guys that were running way up on the outside. I mean, River and Jeffrey were high, wide, and handsome all night long. Was that really a matter of you had to set the car up to run that line, though, and you just kind of said, hey, I need to be on the bottom?
Yeah, well, I set it up to, I put the 460 gear in it. I think some guys are running the 475, and I put the 460 in because I liked that middle, and if you get that run off the middle, you get that much more time to build the RPMs and the speed, and you're not putting it on the chip. So I'd noticed guys catching me into one, and then I just pull away on the backstretch. So I think that's where I was making that high side work against Mitch. As well. The trick was you can't follow the corner all the way around in that middle. If you follow it all the way around, you're just wasting too much time going around the corner. You gotta diamond it off just a little bit at the right spot to make it work.
Well, now we look ahead to the points a little bit here. I mean, I know it's early, but Brandon having a really consistent season, do you feel like you're going to have to pick up more wins this season if you want to claim that championship?
What, 2 out of 3? I mean, come on now. We out here. Yeah, we're off to a good start. We're going some good tracks. I think we're going Milwaukee next week, and then maybe like IRP. We got some good tracks on here. I'm pretty good at these fairly flatter tracks. There's a little bit of banking here, but I still call it a little bit more flatter. Yeah, I was just telling Thomas as well. I was chatting with him. I was like, I hated to see that for Mitch and River. That was going to be really fun. I really don't know if they were going to get around me or not. I was able to hold Mitch off there, but they definitely had some speed, but with them wrecking out, that put Thomas back up into the front and Brandon as well. So I was saying, man, that hated to see that, and I also hated to see you guys get some more points from it too.
Yeah, that's it. It's like you're going to get one way it hurts you, one way it helps you, and all around, I guess, do what you need to do and park the thing in victory lane, and everything else will take care of itself. Man, congratulations picking up second win of the season. And before we let you go here, do all the big sponsor plugs and thank yous.
Yeah, shout out to you guys and the Street Side Classics machine. We'll see you all next week.
All right, brother. Hopefully we're not talking to you from the infield care center. We're not going to get into this pattern of front, back. But good luck next week, Derek. Thank you much. And, man, I'll tell you what, Bizzle, we got an interesting show out of this one here tonight. I did not see the stars of the Silver Crowns top split SOF. I mean, this was a 39-52 SOF. And we saw a lot of good race car drivers just absolutely junk their stuff.
Yeah, this is a very, very tough track, and just about every car I've driven it in. I've never driven the Silver Crown here, but I've done everything from dentist LMP3s to Miatas to stock cars, and absolutely none of them have been easy to drive here.
Yeah, and quite frankly, we saw that tonight. These things were a handful for these guys. We mentioned what we got coming up next week, and it will be off to, I believe Derek Love was right. We head off to the Milwaukee Mile next week. But first, we got to get through this week of broadcast excellence here on the National Racing Network. Coming up tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, will be the TNT Shock Series from the late, great Myrtle Beach Speedway. Follow it up on Wednesday night. The Sim Racers Club heads off to Daytona International Speedway. Both of those series have the biggest car counts we've seen in our history broadcasting them. The TNT Shock Series up over 30 cars the first 2 weeks of their season. I can't wait to see what tomorrow looks like at Myrtle. Coming up on Thursday night will be the U.S. Open Wheel Indy Pro 2000 Championship. Coming to you from Sebring, the full course there. Always a great show. That one will air at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. With that, time for Patrick and I to get the heck on out of here. For Bizzle and everybody here at NRN that makes these shows happen, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us, and we will talk to you all soon. Have a great night, everybody.